bring on Connor O'Gara, our friend. I was going to call him our Monday friend, but he's our friend 7 days a week. We just talk to him on Mondays at this time in the morning, although it was the afternoon in Orlando where he is stationed. Connor, how was the weekend? 7 SEC spring football games. I know I asked you last week. You're probably going to watch them all. I know you didn't watch them all, but how much did you keep your eye on Saturday?
All of it. So, well, to be honest, full disclosure here, my brother had a bachelor party. I have one brother. I organized the entire thing back in Indianapolis. 13 guys. I mean, it was great. It was an awesome time. It happened to fall on the same exact day that 7 spring games were played in the SEC, but the beauty of the internet and YouTube and everything is that I can just get caught up that easily with all these games. I don't know who posts these on YouTube. You know who it is? It's this guy on YouTube, Matthew Loves Ball, where you can watch an entire condensed spring game in like 16 minutes. And so I utilize that fully, where I'm keeping track of stuff that goes on Saturday. And like you catch up on Twitter and stuff. And then you hit the airport Sunday and you're like, all right, time to get to work, time to see what I missed, time to catch up, time to do some reading. But yeah, it was a weird way for me to consume spring football, but it's super handy. And I feel like it kind of like cuts out the fluff, especially when all of them are being played at the same time. What
an incredibly efficient amount of time spent there, really, when you can condense it like that. Hey, I got to say, by the way, you're a football guy. I'm more of a baseball guy. When I got married, and I've been divorced 6 years now, so this was a while back. When I got married, my one request of my in-laws was to please have the wedding after the World Series, right in the middle of college football season. Your brother, of course, wouldn't do that to you because doesn't he write college football as well?
So ironically enough, yeah, so my brother writes on our Big Ten site, Saturday Tradition. He was supposed to get married Labor Day weekend last year, which is the exact weekend that I got married, which was a year into starting this job. But we had planned the wedding before I got this job, whatever. But it was supposed to be a huge college football weekend. They end up, of course, having to postpone the wedding because of COVID. The season gets postponed because of COVID. And now they're getting married Memorial Day weekend, which there's nothing going on. So they could not have picked a better weekend to get married for the college football fan. But yeah, getting the bachelor party on the same weekend as spring football, you know what? If that's the biggest thing that I have to miss in terms of live action, I'll take the loss on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you there. So let me see. If I were to ask you, I don't want to ask too general a question of what stood out watching this weekend. So was there anything that you might have seen involving Mississippi State Saturday that would make you believe that this is the number 8 team in the nation, according to ESPN FPI? I mean, really?
I'll say it to you in Spanish, no. But I'm coming into this year of the belief that year 2 in the Mike Leach era will be a significant improvement. This could definitely be another one of those 8-win teams. Maybe they go like 8-5. They go 3-5 in the SEC. Like we could see that for Mississippi State this year. That's what Leach does. He did it at Texas Tech. He did it at Washington State. This is a guy who, when he gets his offense there and he does his overhaul, which it takes a full year to do that, like it was at Mississippi State, then you start to see his identity on this team. If they can't block a 3-man front, I don't care what FPI ranking we're talking about. It's not going to matter. They're not going to win 2 games in the SEC if they can't block a 3-man front. Now, I think that we should be able to see more signs of that, and they have a little bit of competition for Will Rogers. Jack Abraham, this kid from Southern Miss, who looks promising. It is a true horse battle at quarterback. It looks like it's a competition that's going to go down to the wire, but there's no way that they're number 8 in the country by any metric. I'm not sure that they're number 8 in the SEC. But FPI did exactly what it set out to do, which was create this made-up ranking and find some way to get the people talking. And what are we talking about right now? Mississippi State at number 8 in the FPI.
Mm-hmm. Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South joining us here on Halftime. Connor, let's talk a little bit about this Arkansas spring game. Before we ask, how much of the Arkansas spring game did you get to catch and see?
Oh, no. I consumed all of this.
Okay,
again,
cool.
Shout out to Matthew Loves Ball, a YouTube subscriber who puts all these condensed games onto YouTube and is able to you're able to just see everything. It's like we got 16 minutes and 29 seconds basically of seeing everything that happened in the Arkansas spring game. So I'm good to go. No worries.
So on that side, you saw a lot of what this Arkansas defense has to offer this year. I think with you got Grant Morgan coming back, Jalen Catalon. I guess in your mind, you shouldn't be worried about this Arkansas defense. What about the Arkansas offense?
Well, first of all, Jalen Catalon, I don't know who hurt him before the game, but my goodness, head on a swivel around that guy because he was ready to roll for a spring game. Yeah, you knew the defense was going to be ahead of the offense. It would have been weird if that wasn't the case, but I was interested to see the side-by-side of KJ Jefferson and Malik Hornsby. And the side-by-side is weird just because Hornsby's like 60 pounds lighter. He's kind of the true Kendall Briles fit in this offense. And he did a lot of the things that I expected him to do, which is look really good when things break down, but he has those throws where he makes up his mind beforehand and he just goes with it. And he doesn't care if he's throwing into 3 or 4 guys. He has made up his mind and he makes that throw. That's why he's not going to be the starting quarterback for this Arkansas team without an injury. KJ Jefferson is the guy. I thought the way that he stretched the field and some of those throws where he reads that double move that Mike Woods has, and it's beautiful. That's picturesque. And you see some of the stuff as well with Treylon Burks, and you just think, man, this duo is capable of making anybody look good. And I think if I'm KJ Jefferson and I'm kind of wondering how this is all going to play out, I'm confident knowing that I have those 2 guys, Trey Knox as well, who looked good in the spring game, knowing that I have 2 guys who are going to make me look good on a very consistent basis. They're going to get separation. They're going to high point the football. And to me, that has to elevate whatever floor we're talking about for KJ Jefferson. He's got to be able to progress. Some of the stuff where he's just a little bit slower and he's not as quick to be able to read things. He's not as good when things break down, but I like KJ Jefferson a lot, and I like him a lot in part because of that duo that he has to throw to.
You talking about the duo that he has to throw to between Trey Knox, between Treylon Burks, Mike Woods. Does Arkansas have the best receiver core in the SEC heading into this season?
I think they have a really, really good case to have the best duo for sure. Trey Knox is the one where we're going to need to see more of that. But Mike Woods, I'm not sure if this is hyperbole or if this is too much, but the guy caught 4 touchdowns in a Chad Morris offense. He should get a statue. I really think that there's something to be said for being able to do that. I mean, what an accomplishment that was in 2019, and something that I probably didn't appreciate enough. But he's a guy that Michael Bratton, my coworker, has been super high on. I think he's going to be able to stretch the field, but I think that they have a real case to be considered the best duo in the SEC. Now, there are a lot of Alabama fans who are going to say, well, what about John Mechie when he comes back? Ajay Hall was a guy who had a monster spring game, the true freshman. They have big, big expectations of him. And then you look over at LSU, Dontre Kirkland had over 200 receiving yards in the spring game. They also returned Kayshon Boutte, who is one of the top probably 2-3 receivers in the SEC. And so you could make the case that LSU does, but it's absolutely up for grabs. And I know Arkansas is going to try and play up to it. I saw some of the social media stuff as well. But, man, I just think that Burks is the best receiver in the SEC coming back with all the ways he can beat you and all the things that he does well on the football field. And then if Woods can develop into that consistent guy, which he was in the latter half of the year, man, this is a passing game that's going to be just night and day different than what we saw 2 years ago when these 2 guys were first starting out with the Chad Morris era.
Outside of Arkansas for a second before I throw it back over to Phil, you saw a lot of teams breaking in new offensive coordinators, obviously the new regime with Auburn, Bill O'Brien taking over at Alabama. And I understand it's spring games and you can't put a lot of stock into it, but was there anything this weekend that caught you by surprise or kind of made you scratch your head and make you a little nervous heading into the summer workouts and getting ready for fall ball here in a few months?
I don't know that nervous is the right word. Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix always makes Auburn fans nervous every time he gets the snap. But I think that if I'm an Arkansas fan, or not an Arkansas fan, but an Auburn fan rather, I'm telling myself not to get too excited for Bo Nix because, yes, we know he can move, but you even look at the 1 touchdown pass that he had in that game where he's rolling out to his right. He makes this sidearm throw through a couple defenders. We've seen Bo Nix do that before, but in terms of Bo Nix taking that next step, you weren't going to probably see it in this spring game, wherein he's learning with his 3rd offensive coordinator in as many years on the Plains. And I would have some serious questions about him moving forward and what that's going to look like, especially with how difficult Auburn's first half of the schedule is. They have Georgia, LSU, and they have that trip to Penn State to start off the year in the first half. Bo Nix is going to have to be ready to go in that offense. The learning curve is steep to be able to figure things out. They want him doing some different things. He's going to be going under center more with Mike Bobo. But, yeah, that's probably the thing that makes me a little bit more nervous than I don't know if he met or surpassed expectations, but I didn't necessarily feel like that was anything more than a meh performance from a guy who we've seen just so much of at this point.
Is there any one player in the upcoming SEC season that is more under, I don't use the term hot seat to describe players very often. Spotlight is usually the one that we would go with there. But, is Bo Nix, that player in the conference that's probably got the spotlight on him so much that it turns into a heated hot seat next season?
100%. If Bo Nix struggles out of the gate with anything, he's going to hear it from the Auburn faithful. And this isn't the coaching staff that recruited him. This is a coaching staff that inherited a program that didn't necessarily have that depth at quarterback. And I think that they, in an ideal world, if the perfect option came open for Auburn, and who knows what's going to happen with spring, and maybe we get a surprise transfer or two, but they would have sought a better option than Bo Nix, in my opinion. But it just wasn't there, and the market wasn't necessarily there, and they instead are turning to redshirt freshmen and true freshman quarterbacks as his backup, and it's just not necessarily there in the cards to make that switch early on. But yes, in terms of pressure, he's got to show that he's not Jared Garantano 2.0. And with the first half of their schedule, that's going to be an awfully difficult thing. Everybody knows his name. There are a lot of people who have written him off, myself included. And I think that right now he's fighting to keep his job and fighting to show that he can be the five-star guy who showed that promise as a true freshman back in 2019.
Yeah, you took the name right out of my mouth. It sounds like Jared Garantano 2.0, really 1.5 because he just ended his career at Tennessee. Hey, Connor, appreciate you, man. Have a great week.
Thanks, Connor.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Got it. Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South. By the way, I heard Connor on Paul Feynman late last week, and Feynman says to him, "You bring out the worst in me, Connor." And then Chuck thought that was a great moment. The two of them kind of have a good thing going there. That's a lot of fun. They got a good thing going at the Fence Man, too, especially if you own a business that needs more security, or maybe you just need a better look or more curb appeal, because the new fence from the Fence Man can do both. They've been in business for more than 40 years, and the Fence Man can custom install any type of fencing, gates, controlled access for your business, anything like that. Call the Fence Man. Make sure to ask about 18-month same as cash financing. 479-782-3936. That's the Fence Man, 479-782-3936. The Fence Man ain't afraid of no work. More halftime after this.